In 2022, Honda made a quiet announcement that almost nobody in the marine industry discussed publicly. In a statement published on Honda's own global corporate website, Honda Marine product manager Keita Ito said something that no marketing department would normally allow into print. Referring to the brand's position in the high-horsepower outboard market, Ito said that they were almost 10 years behind their competitors in the development of high-output models. The question is how it happened, who decided to let it happen, and what it cost the buyers who trusted Honda during those 10 years, without ever being told. Stay with me, because the mechanism behind this retreat was set in motion long before that 2022 announcement. If you own a Honda Outboard, or you are considering one, what happened inside that decision changes the math on your purchase in ways the dealer will never explain. Let's establish what Honda actually built. Honda Marine pioneered four-stroke outboard technology at a time when two-stroke engines dominated the market. That was not a marginal contribution. It was a category-defining move that reshaped what recreational boaters expected from an engine in terms of fuel efficiency, emissions, and quiet operation. The BF Series four-stroke outboards are, by any honest technical assessment, exceptional engines in their operating range. Multiple independent marine technicians, in forum discussions, and published service commentary on platforms such as the Hull Truth and Cruisers Forum consistently describe Honda's mid-range four-strokes as among the most fuel-efficient, quietest, and mechanically reliable outboards in their class. The BF 200 and BF 250 in particular carry a service reputation that many mechanics characterize as low drama. In fact, Honda's VTEC-equipped marine engines brought automotive-grade valve technology to outboard applications before most competitors considered it. Technicians who work on Honda BF units regularly note that warranty-related returns are less common on these platforms than on several competing models in the same horsepower range. That trust is exactly what makes the decade-long gap in the high-horsepower market so consequential. The buyers who gave Honda those satisfaction scores were operating on a reasonable assumption that the brand they trusted to build a great 200-horsepower engine was also competing to build the best engine at every level of the market. That assumption, it turns out, was not justified. Honda launched the BF 250 as its flagship engine in 2011. For the next 13 years, that 250 horsepower ceiling did not move. Not in 2014, when Mercury introduced the Verado line's continued horsepower expansion. Not in 2016, when tournament base fishing and offshore center console markets accelerated their demand for high-powered four-stroke engines. Not in 2018, when Yamaha was already developing what would become the F425 XTO. Not in 2020, when the recreational boating boom produced the strongest outboard sales in a generation, and the high-horsepower segment absorbed a disproportionate share of that growth. Honda's outboard output has been capped at 250 horsepower for years. According to market analysis, Honda generates approximately 90% of its marine outboard revenue from the 200 to 250 horsepower range, while Yamaha climbed to a 425 horsepower inline six. Mercury launched a V12 producing 600 horsepower, and Suzuki pushed its DF 350 AP into serious offshore tournament territory. Honda's engineering capability is clearly not the constraint. The constraint, as it turned out, was corporate capital allocation. Honda Motor Company is, at its core, an automotive and motorcycle business navigating the most expensive technological transition in its history, the shift to electrification. Honda Motor Company's publicly available annual reports consistently show the motorcycle and power products segment contributing a substantially smaller share of total operating revenue than the automotive division. When capital allocation decisions are made at the parent level and the marine division accounts for a fraction of total revenue, the case for a new high-displacement V8 outboard engine competes with the case for an electric vehicle platform that will define the company's automotive identity for the next 2 decades. That is not a close call in any boardroom. The result, as Honda's own product manager later confirmed, was a decade of absence from the segment where the market was growing fastest. The decision was rational from a corporate finance perspective, but it was invisible to buyers who relied on Honda's competitive presence to justify their purchases. You see, in the marine industry, your engine is your identity. So Honda's US marine dealer network got observably thinner than Yamaha's and Mercury's. Dealer locator comparisons across major US boating regions show Honda Marine's authorized service presence at a notably smaller footprint than its 2 main competitors. While Honda held its ceiling for 13 years, its competitors treated the high horsepower segment as the central front of the outboard war. Yamaha did not retreat. Yamaha built the F425 XTO, a 5.6-liter V8 that produces 425 horsepower, and it was designed to dominate the offshore performance segment. Mercury went further. They built the V12 Verado, producing 600 horsepower, a statement of engineering ambition that redefined what the category looked like. Suzuki developed the DF350 AP with counter-rotating propellers and offset driveshaft technology, earning genuine credibility in the premium offshore market. All 3 competitors made the same calculation: the high horsepower segment was growing, margins were strong, and buyers in that market would pay for performance and brand prestige. And it worked. Each of those engines did something Honda's product line could not do during that period. It put the brand on the transom of boats that win tournaments, that get photographed at offshore shows, and that drive conversations shaping purchasing decisions for thousands of buyers who will never run that much power, but who want to buy from the brand that can produce it. Honda's competitive position in the US outboard market did not improve during the recreational boating surge of the early 2020s, even as the overall market expanded significantly. Yamaha and Mercury captured the volume and visibility gains that come with dominating the high horsepower and performance segments. Despite that, Honda remained the choice for buyers who prioritized fuel economy and refinement. When asked in public forums which brands to recommend for different use cases, experienced mechanics place Honda confidently in one category: the auxiliary sailor engine, the slow cruise fishing boat, and the owner who runs light loads and values low maintenance and quiet operation. Thankfully, in January 2024, Honda began production of the BF350 V8, its first ever V8 engine, and its first product above 250 horsepower in over a decade. The engine even won the IBEX 2024 Innovation Award from the National Marine Manufacturers Association and Boating Writers International, a Red Dot Design Award, and was named a Boating Industry Top Product of 2024. By the technical assessments available, it is a genuinely competitive engine. Honda's product manager put the arrival plainly. The engine entered the 350 horsepower category as the latest entrant in a market where competitors already offered 600 horsepower models. The BF350 is not a category-defining product. It was a catch-up product, 13 years behind the competitive timeline that would have kept Honda relevant in the segment that grew the most during its absence. The question the BF350 raises is not whether Honda can build a competitive high-horsepower engine. The 2024 launch answers that. The question is whether re-entering a market 13 years late, in a segment where Yamaha and Mercury have spent that time building dealer relationships, original equipment manufacturer partnerships. Brand visibility and technical reputation produces a competitive position. 3 decisions that ended Honda's outboard war. First, Honda allocated capital toward electrification and automotive priorities at the precise moment the outboard market entered its highest growth decade. That choice was defensible from a corporate finance perspective. It was not communicated to the marine market, the dealer network, or the buyers whose purchasing decisions were premised on Honda's continued competitive presence across the full range of the outboard market. Second, Honda held its output limit while the market's growth exceeded it. 250 horsepower was a defensible position in 2010. So every year, Honda was not in the conversations that shaped brand perception for the next generation of marine buyers. Third, Honda re-entered the high-horsepower market in 2024 without acknowledging the gap publicly or directly to the customers who navigated that gap for over a decade. The BF350 launch was accompanied by awards and a positive industry reception, but no explanation of why the brand was absent for the 13 years before its return. Honda's reputation in the marine market was built by engineers who developed genuinely superior fuel delivery systems, refined valve technology, and quiet operation characteristics that no competitor matched at the time. That reputation convinced buyers who maintain their equipment, buyers who plan 5 and 10 years ahead, to invest in the Honda ecosystem. Those buyers were never told that Honda had decided to stop competing at the top of the market. Nobody sent a letter. Nobody held a press conference. Nobody said we chose electrification over your engine category, and we understand what that means for the investment you made in our brand. The decision to hold at 250 horsepower for 13 years was made inside a corporate structure where Honda Marine's revenue was a fraction of the total business, and electrification was the existential priority. If you own a Honda Outboard, the question you were never asked to consider is this: was the brand you bought into competing for your segment or managing it? There is a difference between a company that builds the best engine for your needs and a company that builds a good enough engine for your needs while it decides whether your market is worth the full investment. Honda's buyers deserved to know which one they were getting. They were never told. That is not a problem the BF350 fixes. That is a structural condition that every Honda owner should understand before they make their next purchasing decision.